we have the funder and charter president from the Chinese American Citizens Alliance, Greater New York Lounge, Wai Wah Chin.
Thank you all. I'm Wai Wah Chin. I'm the president of the Chinese American Citizens Alliance. And so we're just very, very honored and thankful for the Chinese American Alliance for holding this conference, and thank you for inviting me to speak here. We're just different by one word, citizen. But of course, this means that we have a very important goal to reach out to citizens. We were founded in 1895. We are the oldest advocacy group for Chinese Americans. We are older than even the NAACP. We were founded in the wake of the Chinese Exclusion Act. So it's 1895, it takes a while for things to settle. And one of the reasons that the Chinese were excluded, it was not just racism, okay? It happened that it was Chinese. But what was the problem? We were doing too good work. Our work was too good, we were too competitive, and we worked for too low wages. Doesn't this sound a little familiar to what the exclusions are now? And so, for the Chinese American Citizens Alliance of Greater New York, we're the local chapter in New York, we've taken on a lot of the key issues that face us as citizens here, as residents here in America. We have fought, we have stood there right at Peter Liang's rally. Some of the reports say that there were only 20,000 people. Believe me, there were many more. There are possibly 50,000. That was an informal policeman who just said, you know, this looks like a huge crowd. He'd never seen anything like this before. So what is the difference there? This is what community organization means, getting involved. And it means that you don't have to be an elected officer. I'm not running for office. You don't need to listen to me to give me a vote, so you don't have to decide on anything for that. But for the Peter Liang case, it was a case of Chinese Americans coming out to speak in a different way. We were coming here to voice our opinion that this was something that was really in the gut when it happened, that a different law would exist, that different rules applied to a Chinese American. And when we were there, we do have to do something different. Not necessarily crazy, although somebody at the end said, you know, we've got to break some windows, because people will not pay attention unless you do something different. The Chinese were there, we made a tremendous impact, and then at the end we said, clean up everybody. You've never seen a rally like that before. In Brooklyn, we had tens of thousands of people, and everybody cleaned up all the posters, because that is the way we engage. We engage by making noise, but we will also engage civilly. We have also been engaged in other things that affect the Chinese Americans and Asian Americans without thinking about what it could mean to put ourselves up in the front in the lines of conflict with the government. When the government says that, well, let's put a jail in Chinatown, and they say it serves the community. Well, how does it serve the community? There are only maybe 200 Asian American criminals that are going into the jail. Don't tell us that you're going to have a lot of our people staying in the jail, okay? And that includes all Asian Americans, it's not just Chinese Americans. So that is another fallacy that they have been trying to push in Chinatown in New York. We have also homeless shelters that they place in Chinese and Asian residential locations without talking to the community because they think that the Asians won't speak up. So what do you have to do? You go out. You go out and you protest that. And our biggest issue for Greater New York is education, related to what's happening here tomorrow. We have the specialized high schools in New York. We have 8 specialized high schools, 3 of them particularly well known. 3 schools that have generated 14 Nobel Prize winners. There aren't many countries that generate 14 Nobel Prize winners. Well, these specialized high schools do have that, and they have, for generations, admitted students not based on the background, not based on race, religion, creed, gender, but just on your performance on one test. That's fair. And at one point, these schools were mostly Jewish. At one point, one of the schools was majority Black and Hispanic. Now, the schools are majority Asian Americans. And they want to change the test. The mayor has pretty much said, these schools don't look like us. Doesn't that sound a little racist? So we're fighting this, and it doesn't have to be a lot of people with a lot of money, but you do have to reach out. We don't have a lot of politicians who are Chinese Americans or Asian Americans, but that's not enough. To have Asian American elected officials is not enough because some of them may be against you. You have to vote for people regardless of their background, the same thing. For those who support the issues that will support our interests. And so that's what it means to be a citizen here. When we say it's a Chinese American Citizens Alliance, we mean citizens, we mean that we want the rights of citizens, but we also mean the responsibilities. We have been a big proponent for the 2 bills in Congress, in the 2 houses. The state Senate, it's already passed, and in the House of Representatives, it's still waiting to be passed. On the World War II Chinese American vets, we want them to get a Congressional Gold Medal. We have served. The Chinese Americans have served valiantly during World War II. Before even the Exclusion Acts were repealed. It took 60 years to repeal the Chinese Exclusion Acts. And before it was repealed, we had Chinese Americans already serving in the war. And you have to remember that because of the Chinese Exclusion Acts, the population of Chinese in America was highly male. Many of them were not citizens. And nearly 20 to 25% of the Chinese Americans in America at that point, during World War II, served in the military. That is an enormous, astounding ratio. And we want to get, just like other groups have gotten, like the African Americans in World War II, they've gotten their gold medal. The Native Americans have gotten their gold medal. The Filipino Americans have gotten their gold medal. The Japanese Americans have gotten their gold medal. It is time for the Chinese Americans to get their World War II vet gold medal. So I encourage you, for that purpose, for the HR 2358, you could go and contact your congresspeople, but not just those matters. It's on at your home, at your local regions, whatever issue it is that affects you. And of course, education affects us mostly, because that is really a legacy that we have from our forebears, our parents. When they come over here and they say that you can get a good education, do not apologize for studying, okay? There are a lot of people who say, oh, the Chinese study too hard, the Asians study too hard. Do not apologize. That is the right thing to do, and you know something? The rest of the country can do more of it. That's okay. And that will serve the entire country because we can be a model. And when we say a model minority, we mean that we must work hard to do the right thing, and teach others to do the right thing despite them. So, stay engaged, work on the issues that you care for, and thank you, CAA.